After battling Xiafunci for so many years, until he ambushed me and I fell in battle, I never revealed I was a woman. Then I was reborn. A thing called the system told me, your death was unjust. To make amends, I'll give you a chance to live. Tonight is your wedding night. Your husband has arrived. Look! I've chosen the most outstanding one for you. I eagerly lifted the red veil. Not far away, dressed in crimson, the groom approached me. It was Xiafunci. This is the fine husband you picked for me? I slammed the door shut and confronted the system. It replied with deadpan seriousness, Xiafunci ranks as the most handsome man in the current worldview. His prowess in the bedroom is also unmatched. Host's heart rate detected as excessively high, overjoyed, perhaps? Overjoyed my ass. To my eyes, Xiafunci's face looked no different from a ghost's. I knew you'd like him. Before I could explain, the system declared proudly, now that your soul is restored, my mission is complete. Farewell. Then it vanished without a trace. I rushed to the window, ready to leap out. The maid screamed, Madam. What are you doing? This is no way to behave on your wedding night. Madam, cheer up. Our young master will arrive any moment. The window wasn't very high. But having died once, my body still felt stiff. Just as I was about to leap out, my collar was suddenly grabbed from behind. The cool touch of fingers on my neck sent a shiver through my entire body. Where are you going? Xiafunci's dark eyes looked at me coldly, devoid of emotion. All the servants had withdrawn. I pulled the red veil back over my head and sat down beside the bed. What was Achi trying to do just now? Xiafunci asked slowly and deliberately. Achi was my current alias. He didn't seem to recognize me. And rightly so. Back when we were locked in a life and death struggle, I was still a man. Until my death, no one had ever discovered my secret of cross-dressing. I wanted some air, I said, feigning composure. I see. I thought you'd forgotten. Forgotten what? I asked instinctively. Xiafunci didn't rush to answer. He lifted my veil with a jade scepter. I felt tense, afraid he'd noticed something amiss in my features. Yet he deliberately used the jade scepter to lift my chin, examining me closely. I thought Achi had forgotten. You begged to marry me, even resorting to ruining your own reputation by drugging me. Now that you've gotten your wish, isn't it time to repay me? Drugged Xiafunci? Are you kidding me? How could the system dare? Playing so recklessly before my soul returned, now I'm stuck cleaning up this mess. I managed to ask, what kind of repayment? Help me put on a show for the world, a show of deep marital affection. Fine. I didn't ask why he needed this charade. As long as we weren't truly husband and wife, it was acceptable. Xiafunci held a high position, trusted by His Majesty. Some things were better left unknown. How long must this act last? Depends on the situation. Probably not too long. Fair enough. Then let's leave it at that for today. Before I could finish, Xiafunci suddenly pinned me down and rolled onto the bed. What are you doing? I gasped in alarm. We agreed not to be a real couple. He abruptly covered my mouth. Shoo, someone's outside. Hearing him say that, I sensed it too. It felt as if someone had been watching us since earlier. Could this be the purpose of his charade? The people outside lingered, likely waiting for the most crucial part. Xiafunci devised a plan, let's make the act more convincing. Before I could ask what he meant by more convincing, he abruptly pulled the ribbon from my chest. The crimson outer robe fell open, revealing the thin undergarment beneath. Oh no! My body bore scars from the battles I'd fought. Large and small, they covered my entire body. If Xiafunci saw them, he would surely grow suspicious. The system had told me I'd reincarnated using my original body. It was like feigning death. I clung desperately to the undergarment, terrified Xiafunci would continue undressing me. But he didn't. He leaned close to my ear, his neck pressed against mine. Stay still. It won't take long. The candle flickered out, amplifying our breaths. In 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I'd been this close to this man. Once, we fought openly and schemed in secret, each wishing the other dead. Now, we lay tangled beneath the same brocade quilt. Siafensi carried that familiar sandalwood scent. A scent I'd never grown accustomed to in either lifetime. I recalled a time after court, when I'd asked him, "Minister Xia, do you practice Buddhism?" "No." "Then what's that scent on you?" I leaned closer, sniffed twice, mimicking the lecherous soldiers around us, and grinned. "It's quite intoxicating." Siafensi's face turned ashen, and he stormed off. "But didn't the master say, Li Sa, Sa is inherently a good word?" My thoughts grew tangled. Siafensi's belt hung slack, revealing lean, evenly toned muscles. "Don't hold back later," he said suddenly. "What are you going to do?" Siafensi didn't answer. He simply raised his hand and pinched my waist several times. I gasped repeatedly. Then I realized. This sound, in the darkness, carried a hint of ambiguity. The figure outside the window finally departed. Only then did Siafensi release me. He calmly smoothed his robes, as if unaffected. He even left the room to me, spending the night in his study. Yet this night was destined to be restless. I dreamt of the past. The conflict between Siafensi and me was entirely a struggle between factions. I took my deceased elder brother's place as commander, not for power or wealth. Simply to fight for a path to survival. Wasn't Siafensi the same? Without the backing of a prominent family, he was like a weed in the vast capital, easily trampled by anyone. Yet he persevered, step by step. Siafensi possessed the talent to govern the realm, earning the emperor's profound trust. Alas, we belonged to opposing camps. During my years as General Cheng, we scarcely exchanged more than a few words. Later, betrayed by my own confidant, I fell on the battlefield. I knew it was Siafensi who had bribed that confidant. He wanted me dead. No. To be precise, it was His Majesty behind him who wanted me dead. That day, gazing at the boundless sky, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. If there is a next life. If in the next life, Siafensi and I are not political adversaries. Then let us sit down and share a proper cup of tea. For I know Siafensi is not a bad man. I've seen him on rainy days, holding an umbrella over a stray cat by the roadside. I've also seen him tirelessly establishing schools, solely to give the poor a chance at education. Alas, once one steps into the court, how many can remain untouched by its corruption? I did. He did too. The past is like smoke, trapping me in dreams. Little did I know that Siafensi, in his study, also found no rest. The night deepened, dew heavy. Siafensi stood by the window, listening to his subordinate's report. "Your Excellency, that secret agent has gone into the palace." "MHM. Your Excellency, why are you not concerned at all?" "Concerned about what?" "The one monitoring you is His Majesty." "I've known for a long time." The subordinate was somewhat surprised. But upon reflection, it made sense. Undercurrents swirled within the court, shifting endlessly, yet none escaped Siafensi's gaze. His Majesty once remarked, even if the entire world were to lose its mind, Minister Xia would remain cool and composed. This was no exaggeration. But truthfully, he had seen it. As Siafensi's closest confidant, Xianwu had witnessed his irrational side. It was when General Cheng died. Siafensi personally went to collect his body. That day, no one knew exactly what had transpired. After returning from the burial, Siafensi was completely unrecognizable. He rambled incoherently, muttering, "I knew it, I knew it." Knew what? Siafensi wouldn't say, and no one dared to ask. "Look at Miss Achi. Doesn't she bear a resemblance to General Cheng?" Siafensi's sudden words snapped Xuanwu out of his reverie. A resemblance? He could scarcely recall General Cheng's features anymore. Xuanwu could only reply, "I don't see much resemblance, sir. Besides, General Cheng has been dead for 3 years. There's no need for concern. Even if he were a wandering spirit, he should have reincarnated by now." Siafensi smiled faintly. "You're right. I was overthinking it." He waved his hand, dismissing his subordinate. Once alone in the room, Xiaofengzi tapped open a hidden compartment in the bookcase. Inside lay a rust-stained red-plumed spear and a portrait of a woman. "They don't remember you anymore," Xiaofengzi murmured. The sigh in his trailing voice sounded as if he himself were the one forgotten. "After the wedding night, I truly lived a life of ease. Unfettered and carefree, I slept when I wished, ate when I pleased. No more rising at dawn for roll call, no constant vigilance required. Xiaofengzi seldom sought me out. Though we shared the same residence, we were as distant as strangers. I believed we would continue thus, drifting until our marriage dissolved. Until an accident shattered this equilibrium." Xiaofengzi had a younger brother, Fengyi, who fell ill in childhood. With no money for treatment, the illness damaged his mind. That day on the street, I happened upon Fengyi being bullied. Young masters from prominent families rode their ponies, circling Fengyi. The younger brother of Magistrate Xia is actually a simpleton. "Hey, little fool, why aren't you kowtowing to us?" Unable to bear it, I picked up a long branch nearby, testing its weight as if it were a spear. With a flick and a sweep, a swath of them fell to the ground. Most of these young masters were all show and no substance. Crouching down, I asked, "Will you still bother Xiaofengzi?" "No. No more. Get lost." After they fled in panic, I hurried to comfort Xiaofengzi. Thus, I hadn't noticed. Xiaofengzi arrived in a fluster, his sedan chair halting nearby. From behind the curtain, his gaze fixed on me, complex and layered. That evening, he brought a flask of wine, saying he wanted to thank me. During the meal, Xiaofengzi casually asked, "Did you study martial arts before?" I was still somewhat wary and replied, "Not much. But being fatherless and motherless, I needed some self-defense skills." "You're quite proficient. You flatter me, Lord Xia. From your moves, you handle a spear? You saw that?" It was indeed odd for an ordinary, orphaned woman to wield weapons. I hedged. "I don't use a spear. Just a branch, something handy for practice." He nodded, leaving it at that. After eating and drinking my fill, I rose to return to my quarters. But why was this wine hitting me so hard today? Lying on the bed, I closed my eyes, feeling a bit lightheaded. I fell asleep too quickly, too deeply. And so I didn't know. Xiaofengzi had entered my room shortly after. His slender fingers wrapped around my sash. "Forgive me for this intrusion," he murmured softly, slowly undoing the knot. Deep and shallow scars came into view. They stung Xiaofengzi's eyes until tears nearly spilled. He had personally laid Qingqizhou's body to rest. So he remembered every single one. I don't know how long passed. Xiaofengzi stumbled out of the room. "Go. Dig up Qingqizhou's coffin." Xianwu looked up in surprise, only to see his master trembling all over. "Go check if it's empty inside." Xiaofengzi said he had urgent business and needed to travel far. He left in a hurry. I hadn't seen him since I sobered up. Mid-Autumn Festival was approaching. I remained at the estate, helping Xiaofengzi make mooncakes. Even such simple, ordinary days had once been a luxury. Though Xiaofengzi was a bit slow to grasp things, his heart was pure and innocent, making him a delight to be with. "Sister-in-law," he tugged at my sleeve, timidly asking, "When will brother return?" "Probably before Mid-Autumn Festival." Truthfully, I didn't know either. Xiaofengzi never shared his itinerary with me. "Sister-in-law, may I ask you something?" The frail youth spoke cautiously. "Go ahead. Am I a burden to brother?" I heard that his colleagues mock him because of me." "Who told you that?" "The young princes and such. From now on, treat everything they say like flatulence." "No, no." The boy protested urgently, "Flatulence isn't refined." I laughed heartily. What good is refinement? Listen to your sister-in-law. Don't take others' words to heart. Your brother has only you as family. If you fear being a burden, then study diligently, train your body, and don't let your brother worry." Xiaofengzi took it to heart, nodding firmly. The prayer bracelet I wove was crooked and uneven, but it was finally done. I stretched out my arms and suddenly noticed Xiaofengzi standing at the courtyard gate. He must have just returned. His crane feather cloak still draped over him, his hair still clinging to dewdrops from the journey. What was unusual was this. He looked at me, his eyes slightly reddened. Lord Xia? I waved my hand in front of him. What is Ah Chi doing? He grabbed my wrist, his voice still relatively steady. Teaching Fengyi to braid bracelets. Is this for me? He looked at the finished bracelet in my hand. You want it? Then I'll braid another one. This one isn't very pretty. This one. Xia Fengzi held out his wrist. Help me put it on. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about him since his return. Yet I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. Bowing my head to fasten the bracelet, I asked casually, where have you been these past days? Fengyi has been talking about you non-stop. I went to verify something. And? Did you verify it? Yes. I said no more. Perhaps it involved court affairs, I didn't want to know. Once the bracelet was secured, Xia Fengzi ordered someone to take Xia Fengyi away. Then he swept me up in his arms. I gasped, Xia Fengzi? Don't panic. Someone's watching. I frowned. Where? I'd sat in the courtyard for an entire hour and noticed nothing unusual. Could there be spies lurking in the capital I hadn't detected? Xia Fengzi strode into the room and laid me on the bed. He extinguished the candles, lay down beside me fully clothed, and pulled me almost entirely into his embrace. Even if we were deceiving spies, this felt far too real. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, his breath heavier than before, as if he were inhaling my scent in deep, ravenous gulps. His breath sent a wave of tingling sensation through me. I shifted uncomfortably and nudged him. Xia Fengzi, is this really necessary? Call me husband. His voice seemed to carry a suppressed edge. Someone's listening outside. Don't give us away. Where exactly were these people? I listened intently, but all remained silent. Had my hearing deteriorated after 3 years of bed rest? I doubted myself, doubted the spies, but never doubted Xia Fengzi. Husband. I uttered the word awkwardly. Xia Fengzi's breath caught. His arms tightened around me. His breaths grew heavier, each one more audible than the last. It was enough to make anyone's ears tingle. I shifted my legs, seeking a more comfortable position. My knee brushed against a place it shouldn't have, and both Xia Fengzi and I froze stiff. Even through the layers of clothing, I could feel the intense heat radiating from him. Realizing what it was, my mind went blank. Xia. It's not. You. My words stumbled out. Xia Fengzi's eyes, naturally filled with emotion, stared straight at me. By day, he was as pure as a breeze after rain, the very picture of integrity. But in the darkness, he became a demon seducing souls. Did I scare you? A little. Didn't you drug me earlier? Me. I couldn't explain. That wasn't actually my doing. But you endured that, so why now? I murmured softly. Ah Chi, I'm a normal man. Holding my own wife, it's only natural. He sighed deeply. It reminded me of the past. The men in the army often talked about this. They said it was unbearable without release. Looking at Xia Fengzi before me, I truly didn't know what to say to ease the tension. I could only ask him dryly, are you uncomfortable? Yes. Uncomfortable. Once the people outside leave, you can. Take care of it yourself. But what if they don't leave? Don't leave? If they don't leave, will we just stay like this forever? Could it harm his health? I'd heard that staying like this constantly isn't good for the body. Questions kept popping into my head. Xia Fengzi suddenly clasped my hand tightly. Help me. What? Achi, please help me. He lowered his head to kiss my fingertips, his lips trembling slightly. Seeing I didn't refuse immediately, he guided my hand beneath his robe. My heart seemed to skip a beat. Surprisingly, it didn't feel unpleasant. Like a dark flame igniting in my palm. I remained motionless. Entirely guided by Xia Fengzi's hand enveloping mine, flowing smoothly. My wrist grew stiff. I gently bent my knuckles. Xiaofenxi seemed profoundly affected, the corners of his eyes flushing crimson. I felt a bit embarrassed. Xiaofenxi. Call me husband. Husband, is that enough? Enough. Xiaofenxi tilted his head back, his Adam's apple rolling. He answered me with action. After that night, my relationship with Xiaofenxi seemed to grow closer. He often came to spend the night in my room. Silk-like hair spilled across the brocade quilt. His collar lay slightly open. Who knows who he was tempting? Sometimes I'd wake in the night to find his arm wrapped around me, his skin burning hot. Thinking he was ill, I reached to touch his forehead. Only to discover his fever was elsewhere. Ah, Qi, help me. His pleading voice melted my heart. The first time was awkward, the second time familiar. After several times, I learned to slip my hand under his clothes with practiced ease. Afterwards, he would meticulously clean my hands. On Mid-Autumn Festival, His Majesty hosted a banquet in the palace and specifically ordered Xiaofenxi to bring me along. Before leaving, I carefully dressed and made sure no one could recognize me. When I used to dress as a man, I rose early every day to draw thick eyebrows and stick on a fake beard. Now, shedding those disguises, I recalled my true appearance. Upon entering the palace, everything proceeded smoothly. I followed closely behind Xiaofenxi, speaking as little as possible. Midway through the banquet, His Majesty cited illness and excused himself. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. But before I could fully catch my breath, the Grand Eunuch suddenly summoned Xiaofenxi and me to the rear chambers for an audience. My heart leapt to my throat once more. Having not seen the Emperor in 3 years, he appeared much older and frilier. The air in the hall was thick with the pungent scent of medicinal decoction. Minister Xia, take a seat. Emperor Xian greeted Xiaofenxi warmly. What brings me the greatest joy today is seeing you and your wife living in such harmony, Emperor Xian said with a warm smile. Minister Xia, you are the minister I trust most. Now that you have established a family and a career, I am profoundly gratified. Thank you, Your Majesty. It's just that your wife, Emperor Xian paused abruptly, then spoke slowly. She seems somewhat familiar. My heart skipped a beat. A cold sweat broke out on my back. Before I could think of a response, Xiaofenxi spoke up. Though my wife was orphaned at a young age, she possesses a dignified and delicate beauty. I believe she is no less than the noble ladies of the capital. Hearing this, Emperor Xian burst into laughter. You certainly care deeply for your wife. With such a wife, I would die content. To have such a hold over Minister Xia, who shuns women, shows you have some skill. The Emperor turned to look at me. By the way, what was your name again? I bowed my head. Your Majesty, this humble maiden is Ah Qi. Ah, I recall. You are Ah Qi. Having lost your parents in childhood, you have no surname. That is correct. Women named with Qi are rather uncommon. But I know of another. Do you know who she is, Minister Xia? Your servant does not. The Emperor stirred the incense in the brazier, speaking as if casually, Qing Qizhou's younger sister, Qing Qishu. The hall fell silent for a moment, quiet enough to hear a pin drop. Xiaofenxi raised an eyebrow in surprise. General Xia actually has a sister? Indeed. I only learned of it myself. However, he and his sister were separated at a young age and had little contact, so he never mentioned her. I see. Xiaofenxi replied flawlessly. Minister Xia, do you know why I suddenly recalled Qing Qishu? Could it be someone mentioned her recently? Clever. Truly worthy of being Minister Xia. The Emperor clapped his hands in praise, and the stagnant air in the hall stirred with his laughter. Yet, the Emperor's next words plunged me into an abyss. Someone has informed me that Qing Qizhou died long ago. The general everyone has seen is actually a woman. Minister Xia, what are your thoughts? Xiaofenxi paused briefly before replying. Your servant finds this utterly preposterous. I share that sentiment. Nevertheless, I have decided to exhume the coffin for verification. Exhume the coffin? That would be the end of me. I had been resurrected in my original body, and the coffin was empty now. While it wouldn't affect me much, I could flee at any moment. There were still distant relatives of the Qing family. If the truth came out, those innocent people would die horribly because of me. What should I do? My heart burned with anxiety. Beside me, Xiaofenxi suddenly knelt on the ground, performing a formal bow. Your servant wishes to ease your majesty's burden. The matter of opening the coffin, please entrust it to me. Xiaofenxi intended to open my coffin. He busied himself with this task. I was frantic, yet unable to voice my distress. Even a fool could see what Emperor Xian was up to in the hall. He had his suspicions. He doubted my identity, and he doubted Xiaofenxi. He deliberately mentioned opening the coffin in front of Xiaofenxi. It was all to make him take on this thorny task himself. How could this happen? Hadn't Emperor Xian always trusted Xiaofenxi? When did their sovereign-minister relationship become so rife with testing and suspicion? I was as restless as an ant on a hot skillet, unable to sleep or sit still. I decided to summon Xiaofenxi's confidant to probe for answers. This confidant, Xian Wu, was Xiaofenxi's right-hand man. I first asked him about the preparations for opening the coffin. He replied, everything is ready. We just need to pick an auspicious day. After all, digging up a grave is not something to be done lightly. It seemed Xiaofenxi had instructed him, for he showed no guardedness toward me. I nodded in agreement, indeed. Such an ill-omened task could easily attract unclean things. Oh, madam needn't worry about that. My master possesses such righteous energy, he fears nothing. Besides, this isn't his first time. He realized his slip and stopped abruptly. First time what? First time handling such a delicate matter for His Majesty. I nodded in understanding. Then I asked, I've heard people say His Majesty trusted Lord Xia deeply, but that day in the palace, it didn't seem that way. Ah, madam, you don't know the whole story. It's all because of that Qing Qizhou. What does he have to do with it? 3 years ago, my master defied the imperial decree with his life, refusing to frame General Qing. That's how he lost His Majesty's trust. Truthfully, this isn't some secret, everyone in court knows it, though no one dares speak of it. Xuanwu glanced around, ensuring no one was nearby, before continuing, you only know General Qing died in battle, but what you don't know is that he was actually stabbed in the back by his own confidant. No, I know. I know better than anyone. General Chang's achievements overshadowed the sovereign. His Majesty had long sought to eliminate him. The Emperor entrusted my master with the task, bribed General Chang's confidant to ensure his death, any manner would suffice, so long as he never returned. My master refused. Madam, you must understand, defying an imperial decree is a capital offense. My master risked not only his own life, but also the life of his most cherished young son. Seeing my silence, Xuanwu thought my words had frightened me. After a pause, he continued, in the end, though His Majesty did not kill my master, a rift had formed between sovereign and subject. Those opportunistic dog ministers began to shit and fart on my master's head. Xuanwu hadn't read many books, so his speech was rather crude. But I could well imagine how difficult it would be for a scholar official like Xiaofenxi, without the backing of a prominent family, to navigate the imperial court once he lost the emperor's trust. I asked, and then? Then His Majesty sent others to handle the dirty work. To prevent my master from informing, he was imprisoned in the dungeons for 3 months under strict guard. Only after the task was completed was he released. As he spoke, footsteps approached from outside. Someone's coming. I must take my leave. Xuanwu vanished swiftly. I remained seated alone in the courtyard. Moments later, a fox-fur cloak draped over my shoulders. It's chilly. Why sit here alone? I lifted my gaze to meet the man I regarded as my sworn enemy. Xiaofenxi's back seemed perpetually ramrod straight. His gaze remained unwaveringly upright and clear. Xiaofenxi, may I ask you a question? Speak. Why didn't you kill Qing Qizhou? I heard you nearly lost your own life over it. Xuanwu told you? Xiaofenxi naturally took my hand, tucking it into his embrace to warm it. Though General Qing and I were political adversaries, I knew she served the nation with unwavering loyalty, protecting the people at any cost. I could never kill a loyal minister. But was it worth it? He had fought so hard to reach his position. Yet for a political rival, he gambled his own life, his brother's life, the lives of his entire household, all laid bare before the Emperor's blade. How utterly worthless. Yet Xiafenxi merely smiled, plucking a fallen flower from the stone table and pinning it in my hair. It looks beautiful. My vision began to blur. Xiafenxi. Do you regret it? My only regret is that I couldn't save her. The day of leaving the coffin drew ever nearer. I wanted to help Xiafenxi, yet I was powerless. After much deliberation, I told him, let's escape. He set down the scroll in his hand and asked, why do you say that, Achi? We can still escape now. Let whoever wants to open that coffin go ahead. It's just opening a coffin. No need to panic. I stamped my foot in frustration. Listen to me. We can go to the northwest. It's far from the capital, and no one will find us there. Xiafenxi might even like the sandstorms of the northwest. Achi seems certain opening the coffin will bring disaster? Yes. How can you be so sure? Do you know something? Xiafenxi smiled at me. Yet his gaze felt like it had already seen through me. I bit my lip, unable to speak. Such a profound mystery as death and resurrection was impossible to explain clearly. Besides, Qing Qizhou was a man. How could I possibly explain my current identity? Better not tell him. Last night I had a strange dream. The coffin was empty. His Majesty flew into a rage. Many heads will likely roll. Indeed strange. Xiafenxi nodded leisurely. Like listening to a storyteller. I'm not joking. My dreams are sometimes remarkably accurate. Then when will you dream of your husband? What? The abrupt shift in topic nearly caught me off guard. Xiafenxi had already stepped closer, lifting me onto his lap. My legs naturally wrapped around his waist. If you dream of your husband, Achi, please be kind to me in that dream. Don't make me wait too long. I instantly understood what he was referring to. My cheeks flushed hot. I'm talking about serious matters. I'm talking about serious matters too. Nothing in this world is more crucial than this. Xiafenxi, have you forgotten we're supposed to divorce someday? If Achi thinks I'm not so bad, why not just let me stay your husband forever? You're trying to wriggle out of it? MHM. Xiafenxi declared with righteous conviction, even if we divorce, I'll marry you back. He nuzzled my cheek affectionately. It was a stark contrast to his coldness on our wedding night when he laid down the ground rules. But I didn't dislike this change. Just like earlier, when I wanted to drag him and Xiafenxi away together, I almost forgot we were supposed to divorce. Xiafenxi let me sit on his lap and act silly for a while. Until finally, his robes were wrinkled and stained with a deep wet patch. He washed my hands clean and carried me to bed. Sleep well. Tomorrow morning, we'll go open the coffin together. Xiafenxi was going to open the coffin, and he was taking me along. From the moment I woke, I felt as if death were preferable to this agony. The sky hung heavy and overcast, as if foretelling the outcome. His Majesty, the Emperor, deemed it inauspicious and naturally declined to attend in person. Yet he dispatched a retinue of trusted confidants, eunuchs and ministers alike, to witness this moment firsthand. Come to think of it, I'd never even seen my own coffin. When I awoke, I lay in a dilapidated temple outside the city, my body restored to normal. The coffin was hoisted up. It was actually made of golden thread nanmal wood. I was astonished. The Emperor wanted me dead, yet I still got a golden thread nanma coffin. Wait, something was wrong. Who had prepared my body? How could I have forgotten something so crucial? When I awoke, I wasn't wearing my tattered armor. That meant someone had changed my clothes. Changing my clothes would reveal my identity. But why would that person give me a golden thread nanma coffin? Xiafenxi turned his head to look at me. You don't look well. Are you afraid? A little. He reached out and interlaced his fingers with mine. If you're scared, just look down. Don't watch. He thought I feared the scene of the coffin opening. But what terrified me was that someone in this world had known my secret 3 years ago. With a thud, the coffin lid slid open. Cold sweat drenched me. I dared not lift my head. The entire room fell silent. Suddenly, the coroner's voice cut through the air. the deceased is male. My eyes widened in shock. There was a corpse. Sealed within the golden Nanmo coffin, the body hadn't fully skeletonized yet. Though the features were indistinguishable, the coroner confirmed it was male. The ministers murmured among themselves. I always said General Qing couldn't possibly be a woman. How could a woman lead troops into battle? Ah, namaste. May General Qing rest in peace. What on earth was going on? Was this some backup plan the system had left? No. That thing called the system wasn't that reliable. Beside me, CFNC gently shook my hand. See? I told you it would be fine. He remained utterly composed throughout. With the supervision complete, the officials departed one by one to report back. CFNC stayed behind to reinter Qingqiu. Xuanwu bought a flask of wine and poured it over the grave. Brother, I'm sorry. You've been dead for 3 years, and we still dug you up. Rest assured, we'll take care of your family. CFNC knelt beside the grave as well. Kia, you've worked hard. What did you call him? I asked. Kia, one of the master's shadow guards, Xuanwu replied. He died of illness 3 years ago. His body was just right for filling this coffin. My lips trembled slightly. It felt like I was getting closer to the truth. Isn't Qingqiu buried here? How could it be one of your men? I asked, knowing full well the answer. Because the coffin was empty, that's why. It's bloody hell. Xianwu, don't talk nonsense. This subordinate acknowledges his mistake. CFNC scattered paper money as he spoke. Without a substitute corpse, how could we deceive His Majesty? Then not only would Qingqiu's disguise as a man be exposed, but also the fact she's still alive. Xuanwu, huh? She's a woman? She's still alive? Where? CFNC lifted his gaze to look at me. Well, she's right here. I swear I really didn't do anything. Xuanwu jumped back in sheer terror, leaping over 3 feet away. Wife? At this point, there was no need for me to defend myself. I asked CFNC directly, when did you find out? After we married. I saw the scars on your body. Just from the scars, you could confirm I was Qingqiu? Yes, I could. Because I was the one who collected your body back then. So it was you. Now it all made sense. Why CFNC had willingly taken on the heavy responsibility of opening the coffin. Because he had already made thorough preparations. You were quite shocked when you discovered I was a woman 3 years ago, weren't you? Actually, I had noticed long before that. Jaw's paper burned to ash, drifting in the wind. CFNC recounted a past I'd nearly forgotten. Many years ago, when he first arrived in the capital with young CFNC, their life was incredibly hard. He was only 14 or 15 then, thin as a sheet of paper. He studied at night, while during the day and evenings he worked odd jobs at taverns. One day, a group of drunken playboys stumbled into the shop. CFNC accidentally bumped into one of them, spilling a drop of tea onto the man's brocade robe. The playboy flew into a rage, demanding CFNC pay for an entire new outfit. Unable to afford the compensation, CFNC had his face pressed into the ground. The dandy extended his black boots and feigned magnanimity. Here's the deal. Lick these boots clean for me, and I'll let you off. Don't worry, I just visited the stables today. The soles only have a bit of horse dung on them. His words drew roars of laughter from the other dandies. No one dared intervene. Even if they disapproved inwardly, none would risk offending these men over a mere servant. Powerless to resist, CFNC closed his eyes in humiliation. Just then, a pouch of coins was tossed down from the second floor. I'll pay for him, the voice belonged to a woman. The young aristocrats were about to erupt in anger, but upon catching sight of the curtains on the second floor, they instantly fell silent. The second floor of this establishment was reserved exclusively for distinguished guests. These esteemed patrons, preferring not to be seen, often sat concealed behind the curtains. Realizing they were dealing with someone they couldn't afford to provoke, the young aristocrats quickly found excuses to slip away. CFNC went upstairs to express his gratitude. Behind the curtain, the woman's silhouette was faintly visible. You don't need to repay me. Keep it for yourself. But that's not right. I saw the book of documents tucked at your waist. Are you preparing for the imperial examinations while doing odd jobs? Exactly. How can you study with peace of mind in such a chaotic environment? This money will last you until exam time. CFNC stood rooted to the spot, silent for a long while. What is it? Do you have another question? Why would you help someone like me? The woman chuckled. What kind of person are you? A lowly one. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Those who willingly wallow in lowliness are truly beyond redemption, the woman shook her head. But you still have time. Study diligently and strive to become a good official in the court. A good official? Xiaofenxi's eyes were hollow. What good is that? Look at the common folk on these streets, so kind, so lovable. Someone must stand up to protect them. Including those men earlier? Then I think I'd rather not be an official. Xiaofenxi knew he shouldn't defy his benefactor. But he couldn't control himself. That pent-up frustration and rage burned deep within him, impossible to extinguish. If studying meant protecting the spoiled brats of noble families, he'd rather not study at all. A woman's folding fan emerged from behind the curtain, tapping him lightly on the head. But there are many more common folk in this world, kind-hearted like me. Will you ignore them too? Xiaofenxi stood frozen for a long while. The spot where he'd been tapped seemed to carry a lingering fragrance that refused to fade. He didn't know what he was thinking. A gust of wind slipped through the window, lifting a corner of the curtain. Following that edge, Xiaofenxi lifted his head and saw a pair of lively, spirited eyes. She wasn't breathtakingly beautiful. Yet she left an indelible mark on his heart. Later, Xiaofenxi inquired with the innkeeper. The table on the second floor that day had been reserved by a servant from the Qing household. You know young General Qing, right? He just returned victorious from battle, marching triumphantly back to the capital. Talk about impressive. As for the lady guest, I didn't see her. Probably one of young General Chang's female relatives. Boys his age are all at marriageable age, so having female attendants is perfectly normal. Xiaofenxi felt a pang of regret. Yet he also thought that only someone like young General Qing could be worthy of such a woman. Hearing him say this, I felt ashamed. Truth be told, back then I'd merely rescued a lowly servant on a whim, never giving it much thought. I had no idea he'd later do so much for me. What happened next? I asked. How did you discover General Qing was the one meant for me? That came after I entered the imperial service. On the return carriage, Xiaofenxi recounted the story. 3 years into his official post, he finally encountered the young General Qing. No, by then, he was already General Qing. Qing Qizhou spent most of his time on campaigns, returning to the capital only occasionally for court duties. That day, Xiaofenxi watched him from afar, a strange sensation stirring within. He could not forget those eyes behind the curtain, eyes that now overlapped with Qing Qizhou's. Who was Xiaofenxi? Gifted and quick-witted from childhood, he was renowned as a child prodigy throughout the surrounding villages. Standing behind, he scrutinized every movement of Qing Qizhou. Even when he tried to appear masculine, Xiaofenxi could still detect a hint of something else. After court adjourned, he deliberately approached and asked, Has General Qing taken a wife? Not yet. Why? Is Magistrate Xia planning to matchmake for me? Not at all. Surely the general has no shortage of female companions. You're mistaken. I've never been one for such things. His gaze was open and honest, showing no sign of deception. Xiaofenxi changed the subject. I hear the general led troops into battle at 14. Truly admirable. Minister Xia flatters me. I've heard you composed poetry at 5, Qing holds you in the highest regard. The pleasantries were sufficient, it was time to get to the point. Xiaofenxi casually inquired, Why did you choose this path, General? You mean warfare? By then, they had exited the palace grounds and hadn't boarded the carriage. The clamor of the marketplace filled their ears. Qing Qizhou smiled. Yesterday I went to buy wontons. 10 per bowl. Auntie Wu, the woman who sells them on the street, worried I wouldn't have enough and insisted on scooping 15 into my bowl. Then there's the border. People there are so poor they can barely feed themselves, yet they insist on buying a fragrant, warm pancake and pressing it into my hands. What does any of this have to do with you taking up arms? Xie Fengxi asked, puzzled. Qing Qizhou smiled. I truly have 1,000 reasons not to go to war. But when I think of these kind, lovable people, and that someone must stand up to protect them, all those reasons vanish. A sudden heat burned in Xie Fengxi's heart. The exact same words. It was her. Even the ambition in her tone remained unchanged. Xie Fengxi had never felt such intense emotion, though he showed none on his face. From that day forward, she became a general, and he a scholar official. He guarded this secret for her, right up until now. All these years, his gaze always lingered on her. Seeing her return to the capital for her official report, bearing wounds. Xie Fengxi's heart ached. How much pain must a woman endure to reach this day? Yet he resented her lack of romantic sensibility. Learning of her return, he lay awake with joy, rising in the night to emulate those elegant young gentlemen by perfuming his outer robe. But she remarked, "You carry a peculiar scent." Even so, Xie Fengxi had resolved. Once all wars were settled, he would declare his feelings. Deceiving the emperor was a grave crime, he could not let her be exposed. He could resign his post, retreat deep into the general's residence, manage the inner quarters, and ensure no one discovered them. But they never reached that day. This world ultimately betrayed its loyal generals. By the time he returned to the Xie residence, night had fallen. Word came that His Majesty, upon hearing the autopsy results, showed no further reaction. His suspicions seemed temporarily quelled. I understood why the emperor had ordered surveillance on Xie Fengxi earlier. Suspecting Qing Qizhou was a woman, and recalling Xie Fengxi's refusal to obey imperial orders, His Majesty surmised Xie Fengxi might have harbored affection for Qing Qizhou all along. Monitoring Xie Fengxi was merely to confirm this suspicion. Only by voluntarily being with another woman could Xie Fengxi slightly ease the emperor's paranoia. His agreement to marry me then was also a strategy to weather this storm. His Majesty is indeed clever, but he still falls short of Minister Xie. After bathing, I straddled Xie Fengxi's lap and praised him, such a brilliant Minister Xie. Whose husband is he? Oh, mine, of course. Xie Fengxi chuckled softly. No divorce? Given the current circumstances, we shall postpone it for now. A divorce would only reignite the emperor's suspicions. Forget Xie Fengxi, by then, even my ancestors 18 generations back would be scrutinized. Then tonight. Will Achi deign to show me favor? Xie Fengxi looked at me, his eyes already burning with an uncontrollable dark flame. I undid my sash and lowered my head to gently kiss those lips. Xie Fengxi's lips had never been kissed before. The slightest pressure turned them a suggestive crimson. There was a scar on my chest. Left when I was 15. Xie Fengxi traced that scar, kissing every inch of my body. Candlelight flickered, casting shifting shadows upon the bed curtains, dragging the night into an interminable length. Life seemed to settle into a semblance of calm. Xie Fengxi was insatiable, demanding late-night indulgences every single day. Yet come morning, he would still attend court with unwavering vigor. The system hadn't lied. Its judgment was infallible. Yet beneath this calm surface, turbulent currents seemed to churn. Half a year later, the young crown prince suddenly rebelled. Emperor Xian had no heirs until late in life, and the sun wasn't particularly bright. With the crown prince's intellect, rebellion was unthinkable. I recalled Xie Fengxi's recent preoccupation. I think I understand something now. Before leaving this morning, he instructed Xie Fengxi and me to stay home and not go anywhere. If he hadn't returned by evening, we were to leave the city immediately, traveling as far away as possible. Now, evening was approaching. Storm clouds gathered over the capital, darkening the sky as thunder rumbled. If the crown prince rebels, the aristocratic families won't stand idly by. Who knows how many factions have gathered in the capital right now? Will Xie Fengxi return alive? I don't know. But I do know one thing. I still have one way to help him. I entrusted Xie Fengxi to my most trusted maid and dug up a wooden box buried in the courtyard. This was prepared in secret after my resurrection. 4 times of need. I donned that brand new battle armor and lit the pyrotechnics within the box. Not even Emperor Xian knew of it. Generations of the Qing family served as generals, hiding a private army among the common folk. They recognized no insignia, only two things, fireworks and a human face. Only those of the Qing bloodline could summon them from the mountains. This was why every descendant of the Qing family held lavish birthday banquets at 13. It wasn't for celebration. It was to ensure those hidden in the shadows remembered the face of the Qing bloodline. But I was missing a gun. There was no time to prepare. I grabbed a sword at random, it would have to do. But just as I was about to leave, Xiafeng suddenly stopped me. He didn't ask where I was going. He probably already knew. The young boy merely glanced at the sword in my hand, gathered his courage, and said, "Sister-in-law, please come with me. We're going to get your gun." The sun gradually sank lower. The situation within the palace grew increasingly tense. Emperor Xian was already dead. Xiafeng, blood-soaked and sword in hand, stared at the emperor before him, eyes wide, unable to believe his fate even in death. "You killed her once. I killed you once. We're even." He'd prepared for this day for a long time. Xiafeng never considered himself a righteous gentleman. His conviction burned for one person alone. Life for life. Fair enough. But the emperor's death didn't guarantee his own escape. The crown prince was a fool. Xiafeng had befriended him because his condition resembled his own brother's. Now, the emperor's own brother had stormed the palace, poised to seize the throne. The odds were stacked against them. Xian Wu and the others fought desperately, suffering countless casualties. Victory seemed increasingly remote. With blood-soaked hands, Xiafeng lit the signal to guide the empress and his younger brother out of the city. They were the two most important people in his life. As long as they survived safely, that was all that mattered. Afterward, he collapsed onto the ground, utterly drained. Raindrops pelted down, splattering against his face. The wounds throbbed incessantly. So this was how she had endured, day after day. Closing his eyes, her image floated before him. My wife's features could soothe all the world's sorrows. Xiafeng embraced death contentedly. Yet precisely at that moment. Suddenly, war drums thundered, and hooves clattered. The palace gates swung open. A figure, spear tipped with crimson tassels, charged through the rain, hooves splattering blood. Thud. Some of the imperial guards knelt to the ground. They were officers promoted from the frontier. "General. General Cheng. Your subordinates pay homage to General Cheng." The god of war had returned. The capital was saved. Half a year later, the young prince had ascended the throne, and Minister Xia had become regent. The realm enjoyed peace and prosperity. Only the palace attendants who had witnessed the entire betrayal that day would doubt themselves in the dead of night. Was what they saw that day truly General Cheng's ghost? If so, why did her hair stand on end? If not, how could anyone command troops with such uncanny resemblance to General Cheng? No one knew the answer. At the regent's residence, I occasionally sneezed. In accordance with my wishes, I shall henceforth live as Qingruoshu. Years of accumulated injuries render me unfit for the battlefield, and having been dead for 3 years, my body is far weaker than before. Returning to a peaceful life is best. At dusk, Xiafeng returned to the mansion, bringing my favorite roasted chicken. Xiafeng showed remarkable progress in both his literary and martial arts lessons today. He and Yu raced outside to spar, creating a lively commotion that had chickens fluttering and dogs barking. I leaned against Xiafeng's embrace. We gazed at the bright moon, its light spreading across thousands of miles. The peaceful era I longed for was finally within reach. The story ends here. Thank you all for your companionship. See you in the next chapter.